So I've been driving this car for the last week. Now, as you guys know, I am a carpenter. I have not been driving this to site, obviously because it is someone else's car and also because it would get wrecked. But I have been using it to get groceries and do a few things over the last week. It has been quite a few years since I've daily driven a V8, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts about this experience. Now, there are only really two negatives that I can think of, and they are actually pretty obvious. The first one is fuel economy. Obviously, the fuel economy is not as good as its V6 equivalents or compared to the cars that I usually drive every day. And the second thing is, if something goes wrong with an LS1, it is much more expensive to fix than an Ecotec. It is much harder to find parts. However, it's not hard, it's just harder than the V6 equivalents. Expenses and finding parts quickly is probably the only thing that is a negative. However, I think that is far outweighed by the positives. The positives, I think, are equally as obvious. Of course, having a V8 is a lot of fun and it really transforms the experience. And I do really believe as well that having a V8 is the real, true Commodore experience. And I don't think that the V6s quite deliver that. And I'm not bashing V6s. I have a lot of them as well, and I have other V8s, but the V8s really are the full package. And this car in particular is really deceiving because you're driving on the highway and it's nice and comfortable and it's relaxing and it's quiet, and you need to overtake someone, and then you remember that you have a 350 horsepower 5.7 litre V8 under your right foot, and that is really, really exciting. It's addicting, and I have not got sick of just having that go. I daily drive a 4-cylinder, and while it is much more practical than this car, obviously it doesn't have the balls that this one does. In fact, I find excuses to drive it, and I look forward to driving it, and I find myself choosing this car more and more often. Not only are the LS1s faster and stronger, they sound fantastic. There's just something about driving a V8 that excites that inner child in me, and probably a lot of other people as well. And again, the thing that has impressed me the most is not necessarily the 0 to 100. It's once you're going 100, and that 100 to 100 and whatever you like, that's where it really, really shines, having that motor, because it's like you're starting from zero again. It's a really, really exciting feeling to be doing that. And I guess, and that actually makes me think of another downside, which I probably should have put earlier in the video. I think it is much easier to lose your license or do something that you shouldn't in a car like this than just an Ecotec, because it's just so easy to speed and to do the wrong thing. Would I daily this actual car? Probably not. I've said in other videos, this is not really my flavor of LS1s. I would much prefer an SS, but that doesn't mean that I don't like this car. It is a fantastic example of the Statesman series, but especially being a V8, and I really, really enjoyed the time that I've spent with this car. If you're interested in this car, I have actually done quite a few videos about it. I've done a walk around and I've done some point of view driving of this car. Again, it is a fantastic example of the Statesman series. And another thing that I'll just quickly talk about while I'm on a roll is that I wasn't actually really aware of the differences between Statesman and Caprice, something that I talked about in an earlier video. And this one, being a Statesman, is much more geared towards comfort and not really towards being sporty or having firmer suspension or anything. So it is quite soft, it's quite easy to drive on the road. All of my other V8s that I own are really noisy and loud, and there is definitely a place for that. I absolutely love driving them, but sometimes it's nice to just get in something that's nice, quiet and relaxing, and chuck on some music. But when you need to overtake someone, you have 220 kilowatts to be able to do it. So in conclusion, I have really enjoyed driving this car, and I would love to be driving a V8 every day. But yes, it is expensive. Like I said, this one's getting 13-14 litres per 100k, which is still pretty good. But you are always looking at that fuel gauge every time you get in. It just seems to get lower and lower, and I have put maybe $150 into fuel this week. If you guys like these videos, please follow along. I just wanted to do a quick summation of my experience driving the LS1 just for the last few days. And if you have any ideas or anything you want to see with any of my cars, please feel free to follow along, comment, and I really try and respond to everything that you guys do. It is getting increasingly harder as the channel grows, but especially on TikTok and Instagram, I really do try and reply as much as I can. Thank you for watching.